But indeed, the human condition requires a bit more assistance now, to really get up that chain. And when we look back, the primitive magics of any era, they really only partially resolved the problem by providing a momentary glimpse of something more, and that's that lunar gate, that lunar level, the first degree. And too often the individual gets to thinking again. It just snaps their awareness right back to where they were. And my goal is to provide a solid route of certainty that will permit any individual living today or tomorrow, or whenever they show up in their cells here on Earth, the means, the tackle, and gear to make their way back out, through and out. What we've actually accomplished with Grade 3 in Tablets of Destiny, crystal clear textbooks, it's not necessarily the final leg of the journey that goes all the way out. But our research has demonstrated that those working successfully within this grade are, at the very least, well, they're not getting any worse, I can tell you that much, and they're seeing real progress forward. And as they're able to radiate a more vibrant personal zoo frequency into their own physical existence, it's becoming noticeable to those around them that something's changed. And they find out that they are more able to handle and manage the confusions and fragmentation of the world because their attention is fixed on a very real point with certainty. A greater certainty than what the worldly domains have to offer. And that point is nowhere confined to the physical universe. Our point of certainty is not restricted to this physical universe. That's again something they try to sell you on. So we've discovered that the more an individual is persuaded to concern themselves with the turbulent confusions of the world at large head-on, outside of a state of self-honesty, the more likely they are to be wrapped up in it, to be of it, and not just play at the games within it. And this is when an individual is likely to lose their own self-determinism and participate with a series of agreements that keep shifting the postulates around to base reality. Concerning, for example, what does or doesn't make us sick. Then on the other side, what makes us well and sane. And we're asked to flip-flop our beliefs regarding the medicines and poisons of life, and I can assure you that rather than take the stand of advisement and contrary to some FDA or other health regulation, I can tell you these suggestions, that their suggestions and minimums and supposed regulations, they're not severe enough. Existing regulations presently in place now mainly serve business interests and provide only a marginal modicum of environmental damage control. Because of course, if things were on the decline too obviously, then certainly someone would notice. Someone would notice and take the responsibility to change things. We would expect. We would hope. But hope is one of the last points before awareness drops out the bottom and we're no longer cause. Because when we are lingering around in hope, we are waiting as an effect. The responsibility now displaced firmly somewhere else. And interestingly, we've known certain things for a long time. Certain things about our planet and about our activities. And again, we're not going to make Systemology, MARDUKITE ZUISM, some kind of appeal to your political side with obscure philosophy. There's no political matter involved here. It's a matter of life and livingness, and the prime directive. It does not matter what side you wish to take on a political regard, because we all know that the dramatics and entertainment behind social politics is just another fabrication of someone's imagination. It's been left to run on its own now. The responsibility for that one long passed into the shadows, when there actually was a divine right to rule in place. It's funny hearing people talk these days, and what they talk about, because the real agenda is hardly covert, it's not hidden, and it's not a conspiracy. Not when one can determine it quite clearly with a self-honest examination of what's happening around us every day. It's literally worthless if I just stand here and point these things all out to you. That's not interesting to me, and it feels too much like an indoctrination for you. So, what is systemology? It became abundantly clear to me that the best way I can apply efforts is to actually increase the ability for the human condition to operate in self-honesty and see these things, see things as they really are, and without the installation of dogma, which is a far more loftier, important, loftier goal than me just telling you how things really are. Unveiling this personal mystery is something a seeker discovers when using processing techniques of our systemology. There's many exercises and procedures that we conduct that do not seem to have any real value to them until a person actually does come to these realizations for themselves in the process. Literally in the process. There's a far greater value to receiving the truth via these Gnostic channels of pure cognition, as opposed to me kicking the spiritual movement off with simply a large book of dry academic postulates and lists of facts about how things are in the universe, or the universes. There's a few. Systemology is, and always will be, so long as I have anything to say about it, a route of self-knowledge, which can only be determined as true to the extent that it is found effective by self. Okay, so the final subject that I'd like to touch on, I think people might have expected it, at least me to mention it maybe a little bit more, given the titling of, and the fact that we have this big radiation poster up behind here. Okay, well, you know, this really concerns a return to a world problem that's plagued us since the end of the Second World War. And then it's funny because it's too often now either misunderstood or ignored entirely. And I'm talking about radiation. We're literally surrounded by it every day. There's even a background radiation present back of the entire physical universe, which is unavoidable to contact so long as an organism is present in the physical universe. Now think about that one, huh? But cosmic radiation, that's only one source of potential chemical fragmentation, and a minor one at best, since we now, we've come to discover many greater sources of harmful radiation. We either by unearthing them or generating them as a byproduct of our industrialization. The authorities seem to go in their own directions, and of course they're inspired by their own political, business, and financial power agendas. But they concerning the official position, the official opinions regarding the effects on the human condition, or even the lingering effects of the original and ongoing nuclear thinking altogether. This is just one more way where authority is displacing responsibility, and that only ensures that these problems are certain to be with us for a very long time. And the fact is that we are again returning to an era of testing and standoffs regarding the weaponized use of devices that directly conflict with the utilitarian ethics of our systemology. And by that, I mean, of course, the spheres of influence towards the prime directive, and that being all life on Earth. It is likely that this is going to have a visible effect on the health of the public, the human condition. Not even chemically, but just in the general state of morale concerning a continuing existence into the future, and the behavior patterns attached to that. So long as the human condition is held suspended in present problems, reacting to them by the past programming, I mean, there's little hope for charting an appropriate future to support the most ideal conditions for life to exist, and to be certain that it may continue to go on existing for many generations to come. On a higher level of understanding, the issues of nuclear and electromagnetic radiation and other cumulative toxins and chemical sources of fragmentation, these all contribute toward a reduction in health and awareness for the human condition. Contact with and absorption of many components found in our modern world are contagions for illness, for those who are consistently exposed to or chronically maintaining lower zoo frequencies. This is one of the reasons why this is so important, because as we find out, it goes hand in hand. The lack of morale brings a reduction in zoo frequency, which brings about a reduction in physical health, which brings about a greater susception to fragmentation, which leads to greater imprinting and deeper emotional encoding. And I can tell you now that these forms of fragmentation are cumulative. In effect, they're stored and carried over the course of the entire lifetime of an individual, and many aspects are carried into multiple lifetimes. Now, this is the reason we bring all this up, bring it all to a head. Many of you've read the books for Systemology. You know that towards the end of our lecture series, towards the end of these conferences, we really get into the nitty-gritty and really just slam it home. And that's what it means to be Systemology and to have a holistic approach to understanding and managing the fundamentals of the human condition. There are factors to consider that extend even beyond physical nature of radiation. I mean, we're just talking about general conditions now. General conditions of people, well-being, mental health, spiritual well-being. And this regards a population that's held in emotional paralysis by one source or another. This promotes everything from general worry to blatant hysteria. And all of these states and conditions serve only to reinforce positions of uncertainty on the part of the individual, especially when we are said to be part of a group, a society, a nation, and a race. We are inherently meant to be a part of these, and yet we haven't the foggiest clue of why things are going on in our name. And this also successfully fragments the individual, the group, the society, the nation, and the race all at once. So this is what we're here to resolve. This is what the fundamentals of Systemology reveal. This is what they show us about the world around us. We're starting with the individual. We're bringing them to an increased capacity for ability. One that will lead us to a true continued existence that is self-honest and true. Not just true for one, but true for all. And this level of truth is very much attainable in this existence, during this lifetime, no matter what anyone else has said to you. You can know, you can do, and you can be. And I believe we are off to the right start, if anything, that I have said in these preliminary lectures has been found effective for you, or inspiring to you, in generating a momentum toward that first step in this direction. There are many more aspects to MARDUKITE ZUISM and NexGen Systemology, many new vistas and discoveries that I would love to share with you. For now, I put a lot on the table today. I want to leave you with these kernels so that these small seeds can germinate into something real that you can grasp, so that when you come back looking to know the rest, you will not have to know it on faith and trust. You'll be able to recognize that it is true and real because you will know that it is true and real. You will have used it, you will have seen it, you have known for yourself because you will know yourself. I'm simply here holding a door open for you. So just mind the gap and pass through. You have many friends waiting to welcome you on the other side. Thank you for listening.